Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, to call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you. Good morning, K-Man. Happy Wednesday. How's everybody doing today? Yes, it's Hump Day Wednesday. That means we're going over the hump into the weekend, the lower part of the week, I guess. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week. Don't forget, join the CMR channel, honey child. How do you join? Well, the easiest way is to send me a link or send me a question on WhatsApp, and I will proceed to send you the direct link. You click on that, click on follow, top right hand corner, click on mute or unmute actually, so you can get your notifications, and then you are off and running. All right, I sent the link to everybody just now. This is one of the benefits of the channel. You get the links in the morning. You get all the news alerts, everything that goes on the website. And really, you get news quicker than anybody else. I must tell you, honey chill. For example, you might be sitting there going, what am I going to get from Sandy if I click on that? Well, last night there was this story. I'm sure a lot of you, when you saw it, your eyebrows were like, say what? A visiting physician at the Health Services Authority has been charged. Oh gosh, I need a show phone. Has been arrested, my apologies, with something. We don't have any details yet, but boy, are we digging. When I heard it, I got up out of my chair and I said, what? Let me message the HSA. So they're like, oh, shoot. How did Sandy know about this already? Oh my God, how does she get such information? Now we have to issue a press release. That's the quickest I've ever seen HSA issue a press release on anything. Trust and believe me, they sent that within the hour, which is fast for them. All right, give me 1 second. Let me grab the show phone. Hold on, honey chill. Let's have a little bit of musica. I left it on the other counter. 1 second. Let me see. Oh, this is a good one for y'all to pay attention to.
There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right.
Critical thinking, honey child. Good morning, everybody. That's why they want to make sure that our education system fails us and we're all dumber than a stack of bricks. Because, they can tell you anything. You're not going to think about what they're telling you. You're going to just, go with the herd and no ability to think on your own. Pretty wild. But that's exactly what's happening when you look around, to be quite frank and honest. I tell you what, it's quite something to be able to think for yourself. Let me give you an example of how important critical thinking is. So, last week, the big hullabaloo was about this loan, this private transaction between two people, one, the former premier, and his minister at the time. Some of you overlooked the fact that she was already his minister. I mean, I don't know what y'all thought they could be exchanging for this, like what he was really getting, other than I'm assuming he's charging a little bit of interest on the loan. And more than likely, this is just to help her out, right? In a what's called a bridge loan situation, short-term loan, flipping a house, yada, yada, yada. I saw someone, I'm not even going to bother calling their name because God knows. Some people you don't really need to give too much attention to because that's the only reason why they're doing and saying certain things. But someone posted up the following. Let me tell you how the lack of critical thinking could very well undo us as a nation. All right, I'm going to read this to you. And then I want your opinion. If you were thinking about this critically, what would you say about this situation. Hold on, honey child. Let me get it for you. Okay. So the person, I'm going to summarize because I think it was a little bit too long, to be honest. The person had the following to say. Let me see if I can find it here, honey child. Okay. It is troubling to hear that a member of parliament is facing difficulties getting a home loan and had to rely on borrowing from a friend. If someone in such a position struggles with access to financing, imagine what the average Caymanian must have to go through when trying to secure a loan. What disappoints me isn't the individual or their specific circumstances. Stick a pin. We'll come back to it. What truly concerns me is the current leaders, including yourself, have the power to change policies to make it easier for everyone to access loans. Yet, instead of addressing these systematic issues, the easier path was chosen. We need to ask, why aren't we tackling the root of the problem? Where are the policies that make the banking system fairer and more accessible? Shouldn't there be programs in place to ensure that hardworking Caymanians have a fair shot at home ownership without the barriers we face today? I believe we need real solutions that prioritize the needs of the people over the interests of the powerful. If elected, I will fight to make the financial system work for all Caymanians, ensuring access to affordable loans and advocating for policy changes that give everyone the opportunity to build their future. It's time for leadership that takes action instead of taking the easy way out. All right. So on the face of it, if you're not a critical thinker, wow, that sounds awfully good. You're like, oh yeah, let me be one of the 26 people that's going to give this post a thumbs up because this person knows exactly what they're talking about. Here's the problem with it. This is what a critical thinker does. A critical thinker looks at the details in what this person has said. Sound bites are great. You know what a sound bite is? A sound bite is that last line. It's time for leadership that takes action instead of taking the easy way out. That's a wonderful sound bite. Oh my God. Somebody go and patent that. A soundbite. I believe we need real solutions. That's a soundbite. Solutions that prioritize the need of the people over the interests of the powerful. Wow. That's a good soundbite. Having financial systems work for all Caymanians. That's a good soundbite. The problem with this, systematic issues. The easier path was chosen. These are all amazingly good soundbites. But let's look at the substance. So a critical thinker always looks to the substance of what is actually being said. The substance of what is being said is based on assumptions that this person cannot verify in any way, shape, or form. You know why they can't verify it? Because they don't have enough information. They haven't asked any questions. They've certainly not spoken to Sabrina about what her financial position is. So on the one hand, they say, listen to contradictory rhetoric, okay? On the one hand, they say that she was facing difficulties getting a home loan, had to rely on borrowing from a friend. If someone like this is in a position that like they're struggling for financing, so they've made an assumption that this person could not get traditional financing. And it's because they can't afford a loan or, I don't know, the bank is requiring so much that they just can't do it. Then they go on to say, right? Not to think about the specifics of this situation. So come again. You can't have it both ways. You can't be making assumptions about the specifics of the situation and then say, let's not think about their specific circumstances. That's a lack of critical thinking. These are people that you do not need to be electing to public office. They talk out of both sides of their mouths, and it makes zero sense if you actually dissect what it is that they're saying. Your entire post, social media post, is based on the assumption that she could not get financing from a traditional bank and she was facing difficulties. We don't know that to be the case. And in fact, I doubt very much that that's the case, because if she already owns a multi-million-dollar home in the neighborhood, same neighborhood, she could use that as collateral. I mean, I think she's been in the neighborhood for 20 years. So she must have some degree of equity in that property that she could have used to borrow against the new property. The other thing to consider is you're saying that a mature woman who's a representative of the people, who's in, I don't know how old Sabrina is. Maybe she's in her early 50s. Don't want to guess, but let's just put it at that, right? You're assuming that she's in the same position as young people who can't get financing. I doubt that. Well, number one, she already has a multi-million-dollar home. Number two, she's been in the workforce for umpteen years, right? She's also making, as a minister, what, $12,000 a month? You know, I don't, listen, critical thinking is important. Caymanians don't use the term critical thinking. We're going to say, please pick sense from nonsense. This doesn't make any sense. Now, it may have been easier for her to do a bridge transaction with Mr. Panton. So he said, right, all right, I'll let my lawyers handle it. Your lawyers contact my lawyers, and boom, the funds are there. Let's be clear. When you're borrowing money from the bank, do they not have a right to protect their interests? Let's talk about banks for a quick second here, right? You go and borrow money from someone, you expect to borrow $1.5 million from someone, and they're not going to put stipulations in place. You can get $1.5 million if you want. Once you qualify, and the bank knows that you can pay it back. So my question is, when you talk about solutions, what sort of solutions are you going to put in place that is going to force financial institutions to loan money to Caymanians when a lot of them have relatively high debt on their books already because they've taken a chance on Caymanians, and Caymanians have not paid those loans back? You know what happens when a bank has all of this debt that they can't collect on? You will start to have no banks willing to loan to anybody, or those financial institutions are going to start to go under. Now, we have an appetite. And this is where politicians need to be honest with you guys, instead of trying to overinflate your egos and make you think that, you know, they're going to go in there and change banking laws in this country. They have to accept that we have an appetite for excess. We all do. We've grown up in a culture that says, I need a big house, right? 2,500 square foot plus. I need the biggest car, the biggest truck. Man, I see some of these trucks and I'm like, y'all can't even get in the parking spots. What are y'all buying these big hullabaloo trucks for? I guess with all the accidents, maybe they feel a bit safer. I don't know. But they're not designed for Cayman. They can't really fit in the parking spots. That's why some of them be taking up 2 spots. They can barely fit on the roads. Remember when people were buying, what was that one really oversized Hummers? Remember when people were buying those, and then I think the government had to like say you can't bring in Hummers anymore or something? Because it was just like, listen, y'all might like this because it's like, again, excess. And you want to show, you know, how much you love to have things, but they were not practical for Cayman roadways, running everybody off the road like you're driving a friggin' tanker. Didn't make any sense. So it's like, what? It's crazy. That's why we have a housing crisis, in part because we like things that are big. Everybody wants big yard space. Everywhere else in the world you go, nobody gets the kind of yard space that Caymanians get. That's the reason why we don't want government housing or affordable housing that is vertical, goes up. We're like, oh no, honey child, I can't live on top of somebody else. No. I need a big yard space. I need my whole full garden in the back. I understand the sentiments. I'm just telling y'all, this is who we are as a people. So before we start to address some of these issues, don't we have to change our mindset a little bit? YouTuber, good morning, says, well, Sandra, you're actually making points for support of the argument that she may not have been able to meet the bank's expectations. Maybe she didn't want to meet the bank's expectations. There's a difference, right? When you do a closing with a bank, on average, for that type of a home, you're probably looking at anywhere from 4 to 6 months, realistically, for it to happen. If time was of the essence, and she wanted to grab up that home before somebody who maybe had the cash just laying around came and got it, that could very well, that could be the singular reason why she did not want to go to the bank. My point is, we don't know those things for a fact. She's not said why she decided to go this route versus a traditional bank. I don't personally think that it was a qualification issue. I think that she just didn't want to be bothered with all the paperwork, the time that it would have taken. She wanted to grab up that house because, again, the intent is to grab it up, fix it up, do house flopping, house swapping, and flip the house. That's why it's called a bridge loan. So it's not a question of if you can qualify. It's a question of, do you want to actually go through the necessary steps to qualify for the bank? Because yes, they're going to take another property as collateral, right? They're going to put charges all over all sorts of stuff. I mean, I don't have those level of details, but what I'm saying is when someone makes assumptions, like they're trying to make a point, and they make assumptions about a person's financial position, and then 2 lines later, they say, well, the specifics of their circumstances doesn't matter, but let me then make and digest some things based on the specifics of their circumstances. That makes 0 sense. If you don't have the specifics of their circumstances, you shouldn't use specifics of a circumstance to then try to make points. And by the way, where are the solutions? This person is talking about tackling the root of the problem. What is the root of the problem? Do we think the root of the problem for affordable housing is that the bank is not going to give you more than you qualify for? Do y'all really think that that's the problem? Go talk to these banks, and I think you will see that that's not the case at all. Some real questions here to be answered, I think. But this isn't the type of situation or example that you want to use when you don't even know what her personal situation is. Shaka Zulu says, amen, Auntie Sandy. Time could have been of essence. That individual is using the minister's circumstances for their political gain. Well, they're trying to, but what I'm telling you guys is critical thinking, picking sense from nonsense, requires us to digest exactly what people are saying to us. Okay? And when people have a political agenda, of course, it's going to be, they want to jump on anything to try to make a point. That does not mean that their point is accurate, that it's valid, that it's based on any sort of foundation. And still, I read it and I heard not a single real solution. Well, what are you going to do? I read it thinking, okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and pretend like we have no critical thinking ability whatsoever. Then the question begins. They say advocating for policy changes that give everyone the opportunity to build their future, ensuring access to affordable loans. It's not affordable loans that you need. It's affordable housing that you need. What's an affordable loan? Listen, if you can go find a house for $150,000, the bank is going to loan you the money. It's not about getting access to an affordable loan. It's about getting access to affordable housing. So even what they are saying makes no sense. What do they mean by an affordable loan? The bank is trying to ensure that it's an affordable loan because they're not going to loan you above your debt ratio. And yet I see every single day people stretching themselves with multiple properties that they cannot afford, right? Even being dishonest with their financial institutions about what their true financial position is, just so they can qualify for a loan. And then when they run into financing situations, or they can't pay for this and can't pay for that, and they start to lose stuff, y'all want to blame the banks. Let me give you an example of one that was very, very interesting. Years ago, we were looking for, a house. And so, of course, we're trying to look for the best deal. And there was a couple foreclosure properties on the market that came up. I feel bad even looking at a foreclosure. I'm going to be honest. As small as came in, you're like, oh my God, it's not like you're taking the person's house. Somebody's going to buy it. But I felt bad about it. And there was one in Georgetown. The location was all right. Closer to town. So there was that. It's an okay neighborhood, whatever. And we went and saw the house, and it was a Caymanian woman of the soil, and her, I don't know if they were ever married, but her boyfriend, long-term civil partner, I'll put it that way. He had a plumbing business, and we went and we had a look at it. She's also a business owner. And I was looking at this house, and it was about 4,000 square feet, really big house, 2 stories. And I looked at what they did. Now, they maxed out the build on the house. Like, they built humongous house on this lot. They didn't hardly have any yard space. I must say that was one of the reasons why we're like, no yard space at all. Borders are really, really tight. Anyway, I walk inside. The realtor shows us around. This house is full of oversized furniture. I mean, big, solid pieces of furniture. Now, if you're a furniture person, I like nice furniture. But this stuff was huge. I'm like, where did they get this furniture from? Nobody in Cayman sells furniture like that. Like, you got to go to a proper furniture store in Miami, go to like the distribution center, pick out all these pieces. I'm like, whoa, this furniture is huge. Too big for a lot of the spaces. And so I kind of made a mental note of that. I'm like, that's like really weird. Like, who does that? Eventually, I found out, I was able to put the pieces together of why these people were in financial problems. We decided to pass on the house. Come to find out, they went and got their loan from JN Money. Now, apparently, JN Money had this policy. I think they've since changed it because they actually have the highest number of loan defaults on their books. So you want to talk about, let's have a bank really be out for the little man and, go bank, go. Yeah, they can be out for the little man, but apparently they were giving a lot of little people loans who couldn't pay it back. And they have their portfolio is full of debt that they're trying to offload, full of foreclosures. Right? So anyway, the person borrowed, say it was $1 million. I can't remember the exact amount, but I'm just going to give you an example. Say they borrowed $1 million. So they had a minimum borrowing amount of, I think, $500,000. So in other words, if you found a house for $250,000, $300,000, you still had to borrow $500,000. And I was speaking to a guy who, he was an accountant and worked in another financial institution. And I said, I've never heard of a minimum borrowing amount before. Most people have maximums. What are these people talking about minimum? Like, why are they forcing people in most instances to borrow more than they can afford? Well, that's exactly what they had, a minimum borrowing amount. And basically they said you had to borrow this amount and then you have to spend it all. So I don't know how much it cost to build a house. They built the house and then basically they had to use the money. So I surmised, this was just my opinion, is they had all this money left over after building the house and they had to inject it into something related to the project. And so they went and bought excessive, super expensive, super large furniture that in a lot of instances did not even make any sense for the space that was there. It was just weird how it was furnished. Beautiful pieces of furniture, but just in the wrong house because the rooms, although it's 4,000 square feet, they were trying to put like 5-6 rooms in this house. And I was like, that just doesn't make any sense. Well, eventually they got evicted. The bank took the house back, JN took the house back, sold it to a contractor and his wife. And then they made it into a tenement yard. I always thought that was such a waste of a good house. Now you got 50 people trying to live up in this house. But this is what happens when we, as individuals, make really, really poor financial decisions. Every single one of us has an obligation to educate ourselves about what we're getting into when it comes to these relationships with the bank. Everything is hunky-dory when you're borrowing money from them until you got to pay it back. One month of not making any money, probably 90% of the people in this country are in financial problems. That's a serious indictment on all of us. We have no savings. We're not a community that believes in saving money. So any MP that isn't talking about changing the mindset of the Caymanian people to be more realistic and more in line with where they should be, every single Caymanian wants to have this big footprint of a house. In most places in the world, young people start out with like a little starter apartment, and you kind of go from there. Some people stay in the apartment their entire lives. Many years ago, I remember reading an article where it said that home ownership isn't cut out to be what people think. And not everyone should be thinking that home ownership is the right financial decision for them. There's a lot of reasons why you might not want to get into home ownership, because the true cost of owning a home is something that most people simply do not understand. And it's not just about getting a cheap loan. What else do you think is going to be cheap? We're creating a socialist state while we're at it, right? So you think that life insurance for that loan is going to be cheap? Especially as unhealthy as so many of us are. Do you think that property insurance for that loan, government officials, you're going to try to make that cheap as well? Here's a reality check. The government of the Cayman Islands, let's give Chris Saunders credit for this. One thing he might have contributed while he was in there is he said, right, let's get Cineco, which is government-owned insurance company, into other lines of business. So let's get them doing mobile policies. Now they do property policies. Okay. What's the point of having another insurance company in the market if they're not going to be cheaper and it's actually not going to benefit Caymanians? So recently, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I want to see how much money I can save. They have an upward limit now. So the more your house is valued, they're not going to be able to help you. So it depends, right? So they have a cap on what they can insure on property side. I understand eventually that might be increased. So government now is going to get into the space of competing with private sector insurance companies. The only reason that would make sense is if they're going to offer something to you that private sector isn't offering. Otherwise, we should not want government in those spaces, none at all. So I said, right, let me get some quotes. I got some vehicular quotes, property quotes. Not a single one came in any cheaper than my current policies with Island Heritage. So tell me again, what are we doing? I'm just saying, what is the point of taking on all this extra responsibility with Cineco, right? Taking on liability. Do you all think that their criteria for insuring homes is going to be anything less than any other insurance company? No. And if their premiums are the same or more expensive, what? Can somebody help me out here? Why are we doing this again? Siobhan says, I honestly don't think that she should explain herself as to why she borrowed that money or why she didn't go through the bank. What should be important is if she can pay back what she owes. And listen, even that, Siobhan, isn't our business. This is a private transaction between her and the MP Wayne Panton. If she doesn't pay it back, then he takes the property. It's as simple as that. That's not really our business. And I doubt that he's going to be calling me to say, Ma Road, Can you help me get my $1.5 million back? Right? So even the repayment of it is not our business. That's between two individuals. Like I said, it only becomes her business if he somehow has to sue her or whatever. What a hot mess. Damien says staff housing for all resort staff would bring down apartment rental costs as more supply and allow people to save money for a loan to buy property. So you're saying that if the hotels provided housing, let me try to digest this a little bit, for their staff, you think that that would impact the demand? Okay. How many people work in the hotel sector do you think that, I mean, are you saying like everybody? So restaurant workers, everybody who works in a hotel, you want the hotel to provide housing for them? And at what cost? You're thinking the housing's going to be free? Or they should build custom housing and put them in? So in other words, they should build a supporting hotel for just staff. YouTuber says either way, public document shows that nothing was hidden. That's where a concern should really be, whether or not our representatives operate above board. And I mean, absolutely. Without a doubt, this was, a completely transparent transaction. Like any other loan of this sort, she registered it with her standard and public life registration requirements. And it's on the land registry. I think the timing of this makes me awfully suspicious that the people who are trying to make a big deal about this are without a doubt, seeking themselves to influence the upcoming election. This was done back in April of 2023. So well over a year ago, going into 2 years. And now all of a sudden, it's a problem. All of a sudden, what's her friend's name there? Oh, Lord, what's his name again? Mario is writing a whole book about, this calls into question the ethics of it all. Now is the time for accountability, he says. This was yesterday. Really? Now is the time for accountability? No, we've always had time for accountability. And we should have always had time for accountability. He talks about the code of conduct in the UK. It's ironic that you talk about the code of conduct in the UK. And yet the Cayman Islands to this day does not have a code of conduct for all MPs because the PPM refuses to sign off on it. Mm-hmm. And the only person in the history of the Cayman Islands politics who's been able to even introduce a little tips of a code of conduct was Mr. Panton himself, at least for his ministers. And he also stands on a record of being the only premier to have held multiple ministers responsible for their actions and their behaviors. I can think of at least 3. Chris Saunders, he fired. Bernie Bush, he demoted and didn't exactly fire, but demoted and put in timeout for a minute. And who else did he have to get rid of? There's a third one that I'm not thinking of. Who's the third one? Right? Oh, McKeever Bush. Forced him to, well, he fired him, but you put in the resignation letter and we'll pretend like you did it kind of thing. Nobody else. No other premier or leader of government business in the history of politics ever put in a code of conduct, even for their cabinet ministers. And none of them have ever held them accountable to this level. Let's stick a pin. Let's look at our current political leader, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly. She's a woman who has put herself out there as having very high moral standards. She's a woman of the cloth, woman of the faith, Christian woman, okay? Walking a particular path in this life. And yet, the behavior that surrounds her by her ministers, she has nothing to say to them about. Multiple, accidents, unexplained accidents. She's not demoting nobody. She's not firing nobody. She's not asking any questions. Is she still even using the code of conduct that the previous premier put in place? I have to wonder. Or was that put in file 13 as soon as he left as well? Critical thinking, when we really put our brains to work and we look at situations, folks, you'd be surprised. As good old Mr. George said in that little video, you'd be surprised what begins to shift and what begins to happen when you think critically. Last week, no, week before, gosh, the time's going by so fast. When was it that we reported on the guy there from, hold on now, Royale Medical? I think that was last week. All right, so he got fined $4,000. And, the judge kind of raked him over the coals a little bit about his lack of financial wisdom. She said, if I had the power to ensure that you never, ever run a business again, I would do that. Because even now, even as you stand before me talking about, I was relying on bad advice for other people, you're not taking full accountability for your own actions and why you owe all these people over $100,000 to 4 different employees. It's egregious. It's ridiculous. You don't get in business and then turn around and rely on the advice of other people and blame them for your own failures. Why are you in business then? Sounds to me like you should continue working for somebody else. But this is what he did. And she stopped him. She said, listen to me. What you're saying to me is not actually helping your case. And it also demonstrates the fact that you've not learned your lesson. You're claiming on the one hand, I've learned a lesson. But then you're blaming everybody else for how you got here. I don't really care how you got here. Obviously, you made poor financial decisions. And I don't care why that is. You owe all of these people money. I need to hear a solution of how you're planning on pay this money back. He has no solutions. After the case, I was speaking to someone else who was in court, and I said to them, it's so interesting because this is a repetitive story. We see it all the time. People not paying pensions, not paying insurance, not paying wages and all this sort of stuff, right? And it becomes very much a, what's the word that I'm looking for? It becomes a snowball effect, right? So you start off not being able to pay one person, not being able to afford one bill. And then that increases. And then all of a sudden, you can't pay somebody else. You're stealing from Peter to pay Paul, or you're stealing from eBanks to be able to pay Bodden. It just snowballs and it gets out of hand really, really quickly. And seldom has anyone ever seen someone who starts, a snowball is that big that it does not grow. And then before you know it, it's like shutting down the business, bankruptcy, this, that, the next thing. The same thing applies to our financial institutions, to banks. That is why I understand the logic behind why banks say, right, you've missed a couple months, we need to act immediately. Because unless you have some sort of really extenuating situation, the chances of you ever being able to recover on that loan, because remember now, you're missing payments that oftentimes, depending on the life cycle of the loan, include the principal and the interest. At the beginning of your loan of mortgages, the majority of what you're paying are interest payments. Probably 80% of that is, maybe even more, is interest payments. So the bank is thinking, you're already 2-3 months behind. Why are we going to sit down and wait? And I've heard people make this argument. Well, we should allow these banks to take people's homes, like that. They should give them a year. Give them a year to do what? Give them a year to get even in greater financial distress? Give them a year for it to snowball completely out of control? What sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense. Because in the vast majority of instances, the banks know this from experiences. Most people are never in a position to recover once they start having financial problems with their mortgage. So the bank only puts themselves in a worse situation when they wait, when they try to say, well, yeah, let's see if we can work with that person. If that person isn't able to pay anything at all on the mortgage in 2-3 months, they would have to get a windfall of money to be able to get caught up and still maintain regular payments. Right? Because once you're in arrears, you got to pay the arrears plus the ongoing payments. Because otherwise, you're always in arrears. So what the banks have recognized, and I think to be fair to them as a business, that if they don't act quickly to try to minimize, and they have a legal obligation in law, as we say, to mitigate their losses. If they don't act quickly to try to mitigate their losses, they're going to lose even more. They're going to be even in a more dire situation. And that property can only get so much on the market, especially when you're trying to do a force sale. Force, not for. F-O-R-C-E, force sale. Right? A force sale is a quick sale. Once you put it into foreclosure homes don't traditionally get true market value because you're trying to get it done quickly so that you can recover. I mean, banks like, okay, if we can recover 90% of our debt, then we write off the remaining 10% or whatever. But at least we don't have the full thing on our debt portfolio. And you see, someone like Mr. Kurt here, and of course the bank wouldn't, not the bank, but the court even wouldn't know how dire his situation is in terms of even his condo strata fees are behind as well. Now, I don't know whether he's behind on his mortgage. I don't know that. But he's behind by a significant amount on his strata fees. And the strata is like, we want our money too. We're having to pay to maintain our properties and all this kind of stuff. And here's another person not contributing to the strata fees. That's a whole other situation. I see people all the time being sued by their stratas to try to, get that money. Damien says the interior of the house could be destroyed in 1 year also, and value loss plus expenses to repair. Well, this is something else. That's an interesting observation, Damien, because I have seen it before. Once people's homes go into foreclosure and they know eventually they're going to be kicked out and whatever, they then start to treat the property less than ideal. They're not going to make any repairs. They're not going to, I've seen it. I've seen it at Windsor Park with government homes. That is why, stick a pin, but why do you think the National Housing Trust has gotten out of the business of loaning people money? Like they were sort of acting as like a bank initially, right? They no longer do that. You know why? Because that is a tough business to be in. That is a business that once you're in it, you're looking, especially, unfortunately, for this is so sad, but these are the facts. For low-income homeowners, they have a different attitude about their mortgages to begin with, right? So y'all want to talk about affordable housing. People who qualify, not everybody, a lot of people who qualify for affordable housing have this attitude that the government owes them something. So when they get into these homes, and the National Housing Trust was the one who was like, you're making your loan payments to them, and they couldn't make the loan payments. They're like, well, the government can't kick me out of my house. How's the government doing this to somebody who's a, low income person and blah, blah, blah. They had this attitude. Y'all didn't see the subtle move that the National Housing Trust no longer is the one doling out money. You no longer get money from them. What they do now is they refer you to the bank. They'll do your pre-qualification for the home to say, okay, based on your salaries, it's not what in principle, we'll give you one of these homes. But now you need to go to a financial institution and get qualified through them, meet their requirements. Right? So yes, we're going to give you a $200,000 house that might be valued at $350,000 or $400,000. So you have that equity in your home already that you can then leverage to get a loan. That's how it works. And so National Housing Trust has been at the receiving end of having to deal with a lot of bad debt on their books. And they realized that was not a sustainable position for the government to be in. So they got out of it. What a mess. YouTuber Dee says affordable housing is what's needed for sure, because the current cost of a car is now $40,000 and up, which used to be the cost of a house. And what year was that, Dee? I mean, that hasn't been in my lifetime, I don't think, but do let me know when a house costs $40,000. So to say the cost of getting a piece of Little Rock is unbelievable, more than pricey than the current cost of a car at the moment, don't mention wanting to buy an already constructed house, not even mention being ripped off and the headache while trying to build one to save a little versus purchasing one. You know that Americans are keeping vehicles now longer than ever because, again, the median price of a car in the U.S., let me tell you what it is. I was reading an article about this recently. It's now $47,338. The average price of a new vehicle in the US. And that's after falling 1.2% from January. Okay, the peak was at $48,506 set back in December of 2022. So a lot of people are hold on to vehicles longer because they can't afford a new car. Yep. Okay. Let's see a few comments. Thank you, Dee. Aliano says, oh, like secondary domicile juxtaposed the main location. Well, it makes for an interesting situation with that rental scenario. I think I must have missed something before that. 345tires.com says, yep, Cineco property insurance is expensive. Well, it's not any cheaper than my own, the company that I currently use. So it certainly doesn't make any sense to move. So let's see how that works out for the government. Ms. Pat says home ownership is not for everyone. Safe, decent, and affordable housing is a must. And safe, decent, and affordable housing, again, doesn't mean that you necessarily have to take on the debt of that. So that's important. Andrew, good morning. Says, good morning, Sandra in the Cayman Islands. All I have to add is that we, the people, elect these politicians to do a job, to enact policies for us, the people, to make life better for our families. Unfortunately, what is happening is Caymanian people cannot get a house. And even if they did, they cannot afford utilities, food, school fees, car, etc. Government and the relevant bodies are mandated by the politicians who put policies in place. What I have a question for you guys today. What policies do you think that government should put in place that would help you with anything that falls under the umbrella of cost of living? I'm curious to know the specific policies. Let's talk specifics. Yes, we want them to put policies in place to help our lives. Okay. Specifically, what do you think the government could do that would reduce the cost of living in this country? I watched a little bit of the presidential debate last night, and big old America, as big and bad as they want to be, first world country supposedly, asking the exact same question. How are they going to help? Not the uber rich. How are they going to help the average person, middle class, low middle class, poor people, how are they going to help them? Because they're also struggling with the cost of living in that country as well. UK, same thing, cost of living. YouTuber says, Sandra, playing devil's advocate here, would you share the same sentiment if it was Chris Saunders or Kenneth Bryan borrowing from Juliana? Provided that it was the same set of circumstances, i.e., it's not government money, it's a private loan between two persons that did it the right way, registered their interests. Once the position is, the facts are exactly the same, I don't see an issue with it. Okay. Since y'all want to bring up poor Kenneth, let me say something about that. You know, Kenneth has admitted, I don't know if he's publicly said it, but I think he's admitted in circles, so it's really not a secret, that Mr. McKeeva Bush was there for him, when he was having financial issues of his own, and McKeeva basically ensured that he didn't lose his house. The only person probably that he could count on outside of his immediate family. And I think that's nice. That's great. But a lot of people also questioned if that was why Kenneth could never stand up to McKeeva in years gone by, when he was involved in all sorts of shenanigans. And people were saying, hold on, why are you always taking the position, oh, let's wait until everything is wrapped up and everything is done before you express an opinion about behavior? So there was the situation in the States at the casino. Kenneth was like, no. Let's wait until he gives his very politically correct answer. Let's wait until the judicial system has dealt with the situation completely before I express any opinions on this. No code of conduct, no, okay, we need people in elected office to be behaving a particular way. Same thing with assaulting and being found guilty. Kenneth has always seemed incapable of really publicly, anyway, holding McKeeva's foot to the fire. And a lot of people surmise that the reason that has happened is because, Mac held him down when nobody else has. He's only human after all, and I can understand that up to a certain extent. And this is why I believe, generally speaking, politicians need to be very, very careful how they help people, right? So even helping constituents. I kind of found it interesting when the Mr. Panton said Rejma was asking him, well, what other Caymanians have you helped? This man is, maybe y'all don't know, but he is known for being a person who helps, but he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't brag about it. But so many people would think, well, you're only helping this person because they can vote for you or they can do something for you. And yet people be traveling as far as West Bay. Not that it's that far, but y'all know what I mean. They have to go through multiple constituencies, multiple MPs to get all the way up here to Newlands, because they know that the office here in Newlands has a reputation. If they can help, they will help you. And so then, should the standard be, YouTuber, that nobody should get any direct help from their elected officials? Because then, well, what does that mean? What kind of ethical behavior is that? You see, I chuckle at people who want to talk about ethics. Somebody said about Mario, which is interesting. They said his this comment just came in about him, made me chuckle as well. They said the following about Mario. They said, isn't it ironic? Imagine a criminal, because he has a conviction. Imagine a criminal trying to give a lecture on ethics in relation to a role for which he is constitutionally banned for life. So because of his own thievery, his own dishonesty, his own lack of a moral fiber at some point in his life, he is disbarred, if I can use that word, generally speaking, from ever running for public office. We have a case. You can go read the case if you wish, because he tried to challenge that. No, that shouldn't be counted against me. And it is the only offense that I guess our legislators thought was so critical to being an elected member, that once you're convicted of it, even if it's a suspended conviction, even if it's spent, whatever, you are still disqualified for life for holding public office. And that is the dishonesty offenses. Theft, obtaining property by dishonesty, anything that falls under that. Fraud, bribery, whatever. Well, I don't think bribery counts as a dishonesty offense, but like theft, obtaining property by deception, those are generally dishonesty offenses, right? Not even murder. So technically you could be convicted of murder, and if you don't get sentenced for more than a year, you could still run as an elected official, but not if you're convicted of a dishonesty offense. That shows you how important they thought that one trait was for being an elected member. So Mario himself doesn't qualify, but he has found his high horse to perch himself on, and then to talk about code of conduct when it comes to other people. Okay. Where was his moral fiber about this sort of thing when he approached Wayne Panton to give him money to get his word of mouth show going? Was he thinking, wow, how is that going to look that I'm taking money from, at the time, I don't know, would he have been, I guess he was already selected as premier. I mean, he definitely got back in whenever word of mouth started. It was after the last election. So I guess he probably would have been premier by then. So he didn't think, wow, if I take money from the premier of this country to start up a talk show where I'm supposed to be independent, this, that, is not going to look away. Why would I do that? Of all the people that you could borrow money from, and that wasn't, let me step back, let me make a correction, not borrow money, give me money. Even worse, because I have no intentions of paying it back. It's not a loan. I need an investor. Well, not even an investor, because not like Mr. Panton was like, I'm going to get a return on my money. Right? He didn't think at the time, let me go beg somebody else, not Wayne Panton. Because this is the same person who currently is considering putting me on a board. This is the same individual who's so close to my wife's family that, even that would look away. It is interesting that here he comes galloping in on his white horse now, and he's managed to find his moral compass. Child, that moral compass must have been lost in the desert. What a hot mess. I'm just saying, it's so funny how we can think about other people in a particular way and then don't think about ourselves in that same way and don't hold ourselves to that same standard. Natasha says, how does government owe any of us anything? We do not pay any taxes unless you're a steady importer of goods from overseas. Well, I don't quite subscribe to the theory that we don't pay any taxes. We just call it something else. Okay? The importer of goods passes that on to us. So we're paying for the duty one way or the other, whether it's a direct payment or indirectly. I see a lot of y'all complaining about the cost of eggs lately. The avian flu outbreak is what's really driving up the cost of eggs. So all I can tell you is maybe try not to eat so many eggs, cut back on the egg intake, honey child. Or, these crazy chickens, I got a couple in my neighborhood that you can come and get. By all means, come and collect them in my neighborhood. You can have them. Put them in your own yard, put them in a little chicken coop. And, you can get eggs off of them, apparently. Sometimes we find some in our gardens where they go lay eggs in the bushes that haven't hatched yet. According to nerdwallet.com, go check it out. Lots of good financial information there. The average cost of a dozen eggs went up, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the reason for that is for more than 2 years, farmers have fought a battle with bird flu that at one point set the price of a dozen regular eggs soaring to almost $5 in the States. Prices largely have retreated, but they remain volatile, and now they're going up again. Have a look at this article. It talks about the Consumer Price Index. The price of eggs rose by 5.5% from June to July, up 19.1% from where it was a year ago. Compared to the rest of the food prices overall, which only rose 0.2% in July. Lots of data here. They talk about grade A eggs, not adjusted for inflation. So the BLS has been tracking, that's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, has been tracking egg prices dating back to at least 1980. And before February of 2022, the average cost of a dozen eggs basically remained below $2. So it has increased significantly. And here in the Cayman Islands, obviously, we are going to feel that increase even more because, yes, we do import stuff. And everything that we import has import duty attached to it. So it is interesting when I see people complain about stuff, but then nobody says, well, why? Why is the price of eggs going up? What's going on? There's normally volatility in the market for a reason. So we pay taxes. You buy a piece of property, you're going to pay stamp duty. That's a tax. There you go. There's your egg prices, folks, in case you're interested. Look at the peak. Went up, way up between November 2022. It has come down, but it's going up again. All right, that H5N1 outbreak, highly transmissible and fatal strain of the avian influenza or bird flu. The outbreak actually started in early 2022 and has grown into the largest flu outbreak in U.S. history. The outbreak reduced the egg supply while demand remained consistent, leading to higher prices. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sunday. You're always on a good topic. I was talking about eggs. People are so crazy or stupid or naive to believe that brown eggs are any better than any other eggs. If anybody can show me any data on the color of the egg shell to make it better than the other one, I want them to show me that. You know, honest to God, I mean, I was talking to this guy the other at Foster's, and they're in AU. They're getting their stipend from NAU, and they had all brown eggs. And guess what? They had 2 cases of bottled water. So I said to them, you know, do you know where big city water comes from? Most of that is already recycled sewage water. If you think about it, you go to like New York, a lot of this that talk about it comes from the source. It is crazy. And I said, he says, well, you know, I got to have members mark or whatever water. And I said, you know, why do you have to get members mark when, I said, how do you do your ice? Oh, I go to the sink and fill my trays with ice. I said, well, what's wrong with drinking that water, boil it. All of these bottles, once you drink the water out of it, you boil the water and pour it in there, and you got better water than what you come in from some state about from the source.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, and people that can't afford, they're the ones that are complaining. About they don't complain about the price of eggs or anything else. All they're complaining, the cost of living is going up.
Mm-hmm.
It's never ceased to amaze me. But Sandy, there are people in this world that has a brain to fill space between and that space up between and their skull.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Dexter.
Anyway, Sandy, you have a wonderful day.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
before,
too, my darling.
and before I go, I haven't told you.
You haven't told me a bad joke in a while. Go on.
Okay, this guy was standing eating some food, and this dog was wagging his tail. And this guy comes up to him and he says, "Oh, that's a nice dog you got there."
Mm-hmm.
He kept on eating. He says, "Does he bite? Is he aggressive?
Mm-hmm.
Is he your?" And he said, "No, my dog no bite." So he went to pet the dog, and the dog bit him, and he said, "How did you tell me the dog is not aggressive?" He said, "My dog is at home. I don't know who owns that one."
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Mr. Dexter.
All right, you take
Appreciate it. All righty. It's so funny because whenever I've had dogs all of my adult life, more or less. And whenever people walk up to one of my dogs and say, "Oh, does your dog bite?" Especially the smaller dogs. Like, "Oh, they're so cute. Do they bite?" I say, "Do they have teeth?" Because seriously, anything that has teeth can bite you. The chances might be greater or higher depending on the dog and depending on the circumstances. Speaking of that, Coco had such a good temperament. Oh God, she was just such an amazing little dog. Zeus, not so much so. He's amazing with me and I guess the immediate people in his life, but he shows a little bit of a propensity to be a little bit nippy with other people. Like he'll come and bite at your pants if he don't know you. He'll be barking at you and I'm like, "Zeus, what are you doing?" Every dog is different. Same breed, and every dog's different. So you just got to know your dog. But yes, if a dog has teeth, they can bite. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Senorita.
Good morning.
You said something today that kind of hit a nerve for me because it's one of the things that I've been arguing for about 20 years, right?
Uh-huh.
You go to the private medical insurance company and you want to get medical insurance, and then they go, do you have any pre-existing condition? And so you'll say, what do you mean?
Uh-huh.
So did you or your father, your grandmother, or whoever in your family ever had prostate cancer, heart trouble, or did they have, any other kind of cancer? And then they come and they tell you, "Oh, sorry, we're not going to be able to, sell you insurance."
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting there and you're asking,
or they rate you, which means you're going to pay more.
Right? Now, I had a surgery in March, and I had to go to Health City and such. And so one of the problems that I think that a lot of people, especially Caymanians, don't understand is if somebody doesn't get insurance and they have to have a, issue about it, the government pays for it. So at the end of the day, the government always pays for it. We have Cineco, and Cineco will charge you ridiculous amounts. I have friends that pay 4,000 CI dollars a month for medical insurance.
Oh my God.
And they're in their 65 to 80 years of age. Nobody cares. And anytime you go to them, and they'll say, "Yeah, but that's our company, that's our business plan, that's how we do it." So while I was in the hospital at Health City, I met two different men from Turks and Caicos. One had heart problem, and the other had cancer. The man from Turks and Caicos was there for 3 months. So I said, my God, how are you paying for this? And he comes out and says, no, I have insurance. I said, well, how much are you paying for that? He said, no, we pay $200 a month. I said, oh my God, I can't believe it. I said, and so well, what does that cover? He says 100% everything. 100% everything.
Okay. And how are they actually paying for that though? Because nothing in life is free.
That's right. So the insurance, is being done through the government, which makes sense because at the end of the day, if a private insurance company doesn't pay, the government will pick up the tab, and that's the reason why the government has such a big bill. But they're not collecting the premiums. Rather than get into house insurance or property insurance, I think they should just stick to what they already have and fix it. Because it was Gilbert McLean who had created Cynical, and it was supposed to be for Caymanians.
Yes.
And right now at this time, we're not seeing that. We're not getting all
That's
of that, back coverage at all.
Very interesting points. Thank you so much.
Hang on, I wanted to talk about the Wayne, patent incident. I agree with you totally. I mean, who the hell is it anybody's business what anybody does privately? To come up with the idea that you're going to get some political clout is total nonsense. At the end of the day, it is the majority. So 2 people who can't make a vote that's going to work.
Yep. Okay? And obviously she's voted against things that he supported. So, I mean, it would be a fail if that's what he was trying to do.
But I remember having a friend and, Mr. Patton actually helped him. And I mean, it was a no-win situation. Within 6 months, the man died. But he gave money right out of his own pocket. It was very, very
that's the type of person he is, I've seen it myself.
Very much so.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carl. I appreciate it.
Thank you, too.
All right, darling. So people just reminding you, Jason says the color of the egg comes from the color of the chicken. There's nothing different. Is that how you get brown eggs? From brown chickens? I don't even know. I don't know much about brown eggs. But listen, somebody else said, well, why are we paying more? This is marketing for you. Why is free range more expensive or free of GMOs? Well, you got to look at exactly when people are marketing products and they're coming up with these terms, because normally there can be untruths in advertising, right? So again, this is where as consumers, you need to be able to critically think and to figure out what that means. The concept of free range supposedly is that the chickens are not all cooped together in a cage, which probably stresses them out. And I don't know if that impacts the quality of the eggs or whatever, but like, oh, we have a big farm. They can roam around freely, and eventually they lay their eggs somewhere and we go collect them. But y'all need to go and Google it and have a look at what some of these people who claim that they have free range chickens, what their farm actually looks like. The earbuds are kind of irritating my ear today. So I'm going to switch to, I got 2 headsets here. I'm going to switch to the over the air one. Hold on. So, Gotta turn up the volume in this other channel over here. There we go. So yes, a lot of it, all this GMO stuff and whatever, it's all fancy advertising to get you to spend more money. If you want to know exactly what's going on with your chickens, honey child, just like I said, have your own chicken coop. Miss Barbara says that eggs in the UK 6 months ago were 99p. Now they're 150. Not buying them anymore, and that's only for 6 eggs. Wow, what a mess. Hot mess. Morning, Miss Flora. Oh, asking about Gigi's ankle. Thank you so much. So poor little Gigi twisted her ankle on Monday at school. She was just walking. Kids. Oh my gosh. And so yes, I had to take her to Health City yesterday. We saw the orthopedic surgeon. They did the whole x-ray thing. She's going to be just fine. They put it in a cast, like not a broken cast, but like just to support it and to get her to not walk on it so that it can try to heal itself. So 1 week with that on, and then 3 weeks of no jumping on it, no running on it. That's hard for like kids, right? So we're going to try to monitor her very, very carefully. This morning, she's like, Mom, I had an itch and I couldn't scratch it. I was like, oh man, I know the feeling. I've had a cast on I broke my many, many years ago when I was walking my dog, my aunt's dog. And yeah, man, all of a sudden you realize you never knew how much you sometimes just need to scratch something. And when that cast is on and you can't get to it, oh my God, it drives you crazy. So I told her, just grin and bear it. The week is going to go by really, really quickly, but we want to make sure it's not broken or even sprained, but it's like the tendons. But, you got to make sure that it has time to heal. So it takes about a month for those things to really kind of repair themselves if you do the right thing. All right. So yes, the egg situation, egg shortage because of this ongoing flu. And there continues to be new cases of the bird flu reported by major U.S. egg producers. And most recently, a commercial egg farm in Colorado reported an outbreak affecting 1.7 million chickens, according to the CDC. In May, Post Holdings, which is a St. Louis-based consumer package company, reported about 5.7 million birds were affected by outbreaks at their egg-laying facility in Minnesota and Iowa that was operated by one of its contractors, Michael Foods. So far, it's impacting about 14% of their supply. And then there was another outbreak of 5.97 million birds that were lost between outbreaks of two other facilities earlier this spring in April. So yeah, it's going to be expensive. A dozen eggs, white cage-free eggs in California pushing $5. And then, of course, like I said, we have to import it. Someone said, why are we paying? Who is this? Like, why are we paying the import duty to stop passing that cost on to the consumer? Who said that? Oh gosh, somebody said it. And I think to myself, who said that? Raise your hands. Who in the class said that? I don't see the comment now. But anyway, somebody said that. And I think to myself, this is why. That's a very interesting question. And it demonstrates why we need to have more classes around, more education around running a business. Because if you have ever ran a business, Economics 101, the only way that a business can be profitable is you're passing on all of your costs and marking it up. What do you mean? Don't pass on import duties to your customers. We don't want to pay that. It explains a lot when you say things like that. How would you run a business? Huh? You're not in business to lose money. Y'all understand how business works, right? People get into business to make money. Right. So you don't pass on your expenses, because that's basically what you're saying. Don't pass on your expenses. And yeah, you're going to stay in business. That's not how businesses work. Right? Come on, folks. Everything gets passed on. It's just that you don't think about it often, I guess. That's why when y'all get the CUC bill, I keep telling y'all, don't just tell me your overall bill. Tell me the breakdown. Now, some of y'all complain, oh, my bill went up. I was very, very pleased when somebody messaged me and said, Sandy, can we talk about the number of people who said that their bills went down? One woman's like, she put in, new blackout curtains and her bill went down $400 or $500 or whatever. Listen, the heat, the last couple weeks, I've been so hot at night. I've been dropping my AC to 75 degrees. You don't think I'm going to pay for that? Of course. I can no longer keep it at 78 because I'm like, oh, I'm hot and bothered. And I'm like throwing off the covers because, no matter how hot you get, you still got to put on the covers, honey Jill. Return on investment. Yes, Jason. We need some business lessons around here. Everybody is in business to make a profit. Even government. That's why Cynical can't be any cheaper than anybody else. And in some instances, they're actually going to be more expensive. All right. Somebody in WhatsApp said, yep, they got a quote from Cynical. And it was more. So there you go. Not surprised. I agree with that last caller too, because it's interesting. I mean, obviously I think they're trying to bring more business to their different lines of business now, portfolio and whatever, to try to offset the loss that they're making on the health insurance side, because there are indigents that they cover. All of the civil servants, they're not paying for their insurance. So, Cineco is a losing entity. So now they want to try to be profitable, or at least not in the red on the government books. That's interesting. And their model that obviously Mr. Saunders has supported, we'll see in time if it works, sorry, is to bring in new lines of business to offset what they're losing on the health insurance side. But the question is, as the caller said, if the health insurance side isn't working, isn't profitable, are they really going to do much with the other lines of business to somehow improve that and make that work? Like, I kind of don't think so, but time will tell. This person say, through lack of knowledge, your people will perish. That person needs to complete a business 101 class. This person says, yeah, if he wants to give away that $1,000, he can bring it my way because he'll be giving it to the government. Because if you get 10 votes, that would be plenty. Sandy, well, Mario got money from Ween too. He should have went and begged Carolyn and them, because they got money too. Mario, I'm talking about. Yeah, they're probably sick of him begging from them over the years. So, at some point your luck runs out with certain people. So I don't know. I don't know why he went and asked Ween, but anywho, there you go. And to be fair, I know he was getting reduced rent and stuff from the landlord there, the Crichtons, for where he initially had his studio, and then eventually he moved out. I think he just does it from home now or whatever. Cineco is actually more expensive, says this person, for house insurance. I contacted them since mine was expiring soon with Britke, and Cineco is actually very high. I mean, how much business are they going to get if they're higher than everybody else? And what's their plan to, fix this? All right. So this person says, oh my little face. Glad it wasn't anything more serious or damaging. That's Gigi's little foot. Wait. I thought Mario got that money before Ween, from Ween prior to the election. You sure it was after he was premier? Well, I am about 95% sure. Okay. Now I can't, you would hardly ever say 100% on anything, but hold on. Because his word of mouth didn't start until after the election. So that's when he would have needed the money. So I'm trying to see if we ever did anything on this. There was a story when his, oh gosh, what's that guy that was doing his production? His producer left him. There was a story about that. But yeah, I'm about 95% sure that it was after the election, because that's when his whole thing started. I know where I can have a look. Hold on. I know exactly where I can go and look and try to confirm this. Hold on. Let me have a look-see. I mean, I don't know the exact date, obviously, that he got it. Mr. Banter never told me that he gave it to him. Other people were up in the man business. Oh, I think he has me blocked, though. Oh, I can't see his page. Huh. Anybody can check. Anybody who has word of mouth, go in there and see when his page was set up. That might give you an indication of when it was, but I feel confident that it was after the election. Yeah, because he would have been very involved in the election process if he had that, and he wasn't. All right, let me see here now. Oh, let me check the other phone. Sandy, you can't talk sense to these people that have wet cement for brains. Oh, Jesus. Ay, caramba. Okay, let's check the other messages. Okay. Oh, that's refreshing. All right, go back to the show messages. Abby says there's no nutritional difference between brown or white eggs. It's just the breed of egg. Somebody says that they can taste the difference. I don't know. All right. Let me see here. Okay. Marshall says, with all these chickens running around, K-Man, with all those chickens, no one should be complaining about the price of eggs. I'm just saying. Like I said, because that requires work. So obviously you'd have to go out there and like gather up the eggs and then do work with, I don't know, do chickens just lay eggs and you're good to go? Or do you have to, you probably need to feed them properly and all kind of stuff. And they make a mess with their feces. So there's that. Shaka says Caymanians have this false sense of taxation of always of the belief Caymanians drink the Kool-Aid and they sell the world regarding taxation. Live Happy says policy. It's on us to live within our means, just as our grandparents lived and survived. If we don't have it, you simply do without. You'll achieve it once you manage your money right. Well, this is, again, Live Happy, a large part of the equation that nobody wants to talk about. You know, when I see people who say that they're interested in running for political office in one breath, and then the next breath, they talk about the fact that they've had 6 failed businesses. I'm thinking, help me understand the logic as to why you're going to be able to help the people of this country when you yourself have demonstrated that you've not gotten it right, none at all. Why? How do you get in there and set policy? You've not even been able to set policy in your own life and follow it to give you some degree of success. You see, this is where now we need to start putting, when it comes to critical thinking, putting on our caps and looking at people who step up to the plate, who want to run for political office. We say, okay, what qualifications are you bringing to the table? The ability to be able to have good sound bites simply is not enough anymore. You walk the talk, right? The proof is in the pudding. These are all good sound bites. In other words, show us how you have been able to do it yourself. It takes discipline, Live Happy, to live within your means. It is hard. Trust me, I know. Every time you see all the marketing, oh God, the new iPhone 16 is out. All of us like, oh yeah, AI, I need to get that because now I can snap a picture of something. It'll search it out. What? I need that phone. Huh? How many of us? Oh, I need to eat 2 plates of food instead of half a plate because I know I can't afford the groceries anymore. It is a whole other cup of tea when someone tells you that you have to live within your means. That takes discipline. And truth be told, most of us simply don't have it. Urban Trends was one who said it. Stop passing the duty fees to the consumer in regards to everything, food, fuel, etc. Also start monitoring the insurance companies. How are you not going to pass on the duty? That's part of what they pay. They pay transportation, duty, staff, their own insurance, everything you ultimately pay for, and then a markup. And that's every single business in the world. Any business that you're not paying the fees for, you can believe that they're going out of business. You know, the dollar store stock has plummeted. Uh-oh. I heard the call. I heard it ringing. Maybe they can't afford to call me. Should I call them back? Still no toll-free number from Flo, honey child. Dollar Tree stock has plummeted 20% as inflation and competition hit discount retailers. So even discount retailers in the States. Why does it sound so? The volume sounds very high.
Hello?
Hi, good morning. Were you calling the show?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Yes, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the topic that we're having regarding
Sure.
the
Yeah, regarding, say
because
that again.
persons living in their
Oh,
means.
yes. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Because right now my daughter attends John Green School, and the first week of school she came when I pick her up one evening, she said to me, she said, "Mommy, you know that right now I have students in my class um bullying me about my bag that I'm carrying to school." So I said, "What happened to your bag?" She said, "Well, I don't see nothing wrong with my bag." She said, "You have kids in her classroom telling her that because she don't have this bag that they call spray ground or something like that, these big color bags, she not saying anything." And she said, "Mommy,
Really?
when I look at it, when I am in class and teacher asks question, I don't see none of them hands going up. I don't see none of them hands going up. The bag that I'm currently to school, that is not what is going to determine what I put in my head. So, Mommy, I'm
Right.
here to learn. I'm here to get an education. Nothing go wrong with my bag." And she's
Yes.
carrying a Puma bag. And it's like, because a person don't have a particular thing, what's the big deal with that? This is what you have a lot of parents sending their kids out to school just to look good with nothing in their head.
Right.
I saw when my daughter first started John Gray, she said to me that I was a little bit scared of her because it's a new environment. She's just coming from a different school back in Jamaica. So I was a little bit, scared and all those stuff. And the first day when she went to school and she came out, she was so excited. You would never believe that was her first day of school. And she said, "Mommy," "I got this." She said, "Mommy, I totally got this." I was a little bit scared for myself. But when I'm in the class, what the teacher is teaching me in year 7 at John Gray, I learned that in grade 4 at Jamaica. I'm telling you, Miss Sunday. I said, "Mommy, I'm doing way better." When I went to John Gray to collect her exam report, Miss Sunday, she's way advanced than children that is there long before her.
My God.
Long before her. I'm telling you. And there's a lot of things going on at John Green, Miss Sandy, and some stuff needs to be done about it. Because you
Yes, the
have children right now
fighting.
going to school and they're uncomfortable to go to school in the morning because of what they're going through there.
Oh my
Even
gosh.
with, not only with students, Miss Sandy, but with also persons that works at John Green.
Wow.
Also with persons that work there. Because my daughter, she came and she was so upset. "Mommy, can you believe I am in the line to go and collect my lunch?" Right? But when I went there, I saw some students standing somewhere else. So she said, she just went there and stand up. And she said, "This lady just come and grab her and tell her, go to the back of the line." So she said, "Why are you calling me like this?" So you need to go to the back. Move from there and go to the back. So she said, "Why are you behaving so aggressive? What did I do wrong?" She said, she just come and she reached at the top to board the line. So she said, "I did not work." She said, "I don't want to hear anything from you." She said, "Mommy, this lady did not even give me a chance to even explain myself." She just shut me up. "I don't want to hear anything." Those things are not healthy for our children in those school systems, Sandy. There's so much things that they need to deal with there. Because you can't have your child going to school or should go to school and they're feeling scared to go to school. They don't want to go to school because of the pressure that they're going under from peers and also persons that work in the school. That's just my 2 cents, Sandy. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Wow. What a hot mess. And you see, our children, unfortunately, get this mentality about being concerned about brands and backpacks and whatever. I mean, my God, isn't that the reason why government schools make y'all wear uniforms so that you don't get caught up on, what brand clothing you're wearing, all this kind of stuff? But y'all are still, the one thing left that they haven't said, everybody has to have this exact same backpack. That's the thing that's going to try to separate people. Like, oh, you're not saying anything. You don't have enough money if you can't carry a particular backpack. Child, please. And children get that type of attitude from the parents and from, I suppose, other children who are getting it from their parents. Backpacks. You're right, Charles. Fashion over ethics. Well, fashion over education and becoming a critical thinker and having a little bit of common sense. What a hot mess. So, thank you. Mellow Fellow says, good morning, Miss Sandy. The Seneca home quotes are generally higher because they offer parametric insurance cover, which has additional benefits. You can get them to explain the additional benefits. Well, that's interesting. I haven't actually seen that. And in fact, I was just having a look at their motor coverage. I can look at the one that they sent. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, I heard you talking. I was still talking. Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
How are you?
Sorry, I am good. I'm so blessed.
That's
and
wonderful.
You know that, yes. And sorry about the baby's foot. Glad she's young and it's quickly healed.
She'll be just fine. Thank you so
She'll
much.
be good. Oh, she got the bones that do. They go right back together.
Yeah.
The old bones we got to worry about.
Right, exactly.
Yes. But you know, the caller that called in, I agree with her. The kids, and a lot of it is from the parents. They hear the parents with it, and that's where they take it into school. I could afford to give my child a phone. My daughter never got a phone until COVID. And the reason she got it is
and
because
how old was she?
14.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I cell phone. And I didn't see the need for her to have this phone and so forth. You know, she was in a protected school and all of the things and the criteria. She could go to the office, call me, and I didn't see the reason. She was not allowed to go on Facebook, no social media at all. Yes, I banned her. I tell her it wasn't important.
Exactly.
You know, and when they were going to school, I'd buy whatever shoes I saw that they were cute and so forth for boy and girl. And they would come home and say, well, all of my kids have on Nikes, Mom, and this and that. And I said, listen, when I went in the hospital, I didn't see none of those kids nor their mother. I was there hollering and I went in pain. I don't remember one soul but God. I said, so, yeah.
Yes.
So I said, you're all going to wear what I buy. And you know the reason I did it? It's because we get these kids used to name brand and these phones and the trend. And when they can't afford it, it's going to cause them maybe to go steal or do things for it that they shouldn't do and want to do. So I have kept them in that way. If I see a nice Jan Sport and I like it, I buy it. If I saw a regular school bag, it was cute, I thought it was nice, I would buy it. I didn't buy based on all of this name brand stuff because we're getting our society this name that, oh, wow, you know, I don't believe in it. Not even for myself. If I go to Walmart and I see something I like, I buy it. If I go to Target, I buy it. If I go to the mall and I see, I buy it. It don't have to have a name brand for me. And I think that's where we need to. When I first left school and all of my friends was getting mortgages for these big houses and the cars, I said, no, I want something first as a business, and then I will get a house and I will get a car. So everybody looked better than I did. They got all of these things and everybody driving nice cars and they got a house. I got my place. I purchased it and then I built an apartment on one. I turned the other one into apartment. I was able to buy houses. I was able to buy cars and all of this after. So, you know, we got to start planning, you know, for a better future. We can't just look on a quick now fix for what people think because we're going to get ourselves in problems. If we're living for the Joneses and what others think of us, we're not going to succeed. And we're too small and we need to help one another with business plan. I tell young people all the time, and they're not my children, they're not family to me, and I will give them advice. I had this young lady, every time a new phone came out, she came to buy one. She got a job. She came in one day and she came to buy the new one. She had just buy a phone, maybe about 3 months. I mean, phone was in excellent condition because she's one of those that keep herself well and also what she has. And I said to her, sweetie, you don't need that phone. What is wrong with this phone? And she said, well, it's a new one. I taught her something that did. I said, listen to me, sweetie, there's always going to be something new. The consumer is going to be the person that keeps Samsung, iPhone in business. And it's okay to keep them, but not at the expense that you're trying to keep up with the trend. Your phone works. If it break or, 6 years, well, you just got this phone. And I said, your mother and your father come from humble beginning. I know both of them. And they were poor. And you got a good education. Use your money wisely. There's a house to be bought. And I was there and I was telling her. Didn't look like she was very pleased with me. She left my store. But until today, I have that young lady's respect. Because I could have just taken it because I'm doing business. I could have just taken the money. She's not the only one I've done it with. My son come home with a new brand Benz. Just finished. I come home today. Who's that for? Me? You see it? I said, I see it. But where do you live? Here? And whose house is this? Yeah. And he's stuttering. I said, where's your house? I don't have one, but you got a Benz for 30, 40,000. You need to take that Benz back. You need to get a house first. And let me tell you something. He took and sold that Benz in 3 months, made a profit on there, and he went and got one apartment. He doesn't only have one now. He have two. He have land. You have whatever. So we as parents sometimes is the problem with our kids. We need to step down and say, they're ready to age. They some of them would disrespect you. But if you disrespect me, I can try a thing still, Hey, I had you, so I can try a thing. But I think that's where it's wrong. And the kids need to stop this bullying over material things. Material things is today you have it and tomorrow it's gone. All I have tomorrow, the house, it can burn down. It's just a matter of minutes that one day you have and the next day you don't have. Ivan was a prime example. Do you know how many people I took a water? How many people I have, because I had a truck, how many people I see? These is the people was up there and whatever. They just didn't have the resources. Money couldn't help you at that time. We needed one another. And we need to continue to do that. So when we see a child failing, not because it's not your child, we need to tell this child and help this child. Because sometimes this child will listen to somebody outside, but not their parent. So we need to really be concerned because we all live here. So when that child get a hand, turn bad man, you think it just is there? No, it's all of us is in this together. So that's just my 2 cents. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Keep it real.
Thank you.
All right,
I really
sweetie.
appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, listen, clothes does not make the man, as they say. And everyone has to decide how they're going to spend their money. I know people who, you can just look at what it is that they're wearing. Of course, you can get nice clothes at discount pricing. But there's some people who are obsessed with name brand clothes. And it makes no logical sense because the amount of money that they spend and thousands of dollars each month in clothes, I'm like, that could be going towards a mortgage or savings or other bills or, it's just crazy to me how some people will look at things. I met a Jamaican girl. This was years ago when I went back to law school and did the PPC. We had a debate thing and I had to go to Tampa, I think it was. I think it was actually, was it in Clearwater? But the Tampa area. It might have been Clearwater where the debate was happening. But anyway, we went there. I was part of the Cayman contingent group that went to participate in this debate. And we had people from Jamaica, from other islands. And there's this very bougie Jamaican girl who was there, white Jamaican girl. And so apparently I was one of the few people who could drive in the States and I rented a car. So everybody wanted to come with me. Oh, Sandy, can you take us to the mall? And I was like, all right. And I remember her talking about how, she has to go to the Ann Taylor store and this store and that store. And I'm like, why? I said, you look nice. You're well put together, but you think I'm sitting here going, oh, she's wearing an Ann Taylor outfit. Oh my gosh. Or that's a couture outfit. Like, who cares? So I said, girl, do you not know how to shop on a budget? I don't know what your folks do in Jamaica for a living, but I'm sure that you could save a lot of money and put towards other things, right? Make life more affordable. Oh no, I can't go to Marshall's, a TJ Maxx, and a Ross. And I said, really? I said, come with me. I'm going to show you how to shop. Oh, I can never find anything there. I said, well, you don't have a discerning eye, honey child. You need a professional bargain shopper like myself. I took her and she came back with $200-$300 worth of stuff, lots of pieces. And all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, I've never been to one of those stores before and found anything. I said, that's because you don't know how to look. You don't know how to shop. There's an actual logic in retail about how they have the store set up and the whole 9 yards. You have to know where to look for the bargains and how to pull things out, girl. And that's the same stuff you go to Ann Taylor. Oh, it's last season's outfit. Who cares? Nobody don't know if it's this season or last season. It does not matter. I'm like, come on, honey child. The only thing you can get me to spend money on when it comes to fashion and things that you wear are shoes. And I can thank Aunt Lottie for that. See, this is what I tell y'all. We gain our sense of everything, how we deal with money, how we see the world a lot of times from our parents, from our parental figures. And Aunt Lottie always said, do not buy cheap shoes for more reasons than one. Your foot supports your entire body. You want quality shoes that have proper support. You don't want stinky feet. So I wasn't hanging out when, what was the discount shoe store that eventually went out of business called again? They still have one in Jamaica though. Oh man. I can't remember their name. Somebody help me out here. What was the name of that store? Lord have mercy. Anybody? Payless. Thank you, Jerry and Tracy, and Live Happy. Yes. I didn't go to no Payless for no shoes. But the funny thing is, and this is what my aunt used to say. She said, by the time you go to Payless and you buy one pair of shoes, it's going to last you a couple months. If you buy a quality pair of shoe, even if you pay double or triple, that's going to last you for a very long time. And it's going to support your feet better. You're not getting bunions and all these other issues. And I was like, okay. So it was about buying quality shoes with the understanding that they're going to last you longer and they're going to support your feet properly, not made of cheap materials and all this kind of stuff. And you can get quality shoes at a bargain. You can get quality clothes at a bargain. Listen, I have clothes in my closet that is like 15 years old that has lasted all this time. And I wear it. People are like, oh, when did you buy that? I'm like, 15 plus years ago. You got the stretchy material, child. So it's been able to accommodate the stretch. You know what I'm saying? So you buy quality stuff, it lasts forever. That's why whenever I clear out my stuff and I give stuff away, people are like, oh my God, this is like brand new. I'm like, nope, I just take care of my stuff. Take care. My Aunt Lottie always said, take care of the things that you have. Even if you have one good outfit, you just wash it, make sure it's clean, and take care of it. So listen, we got a lot of lessons. I think that we could all share with each other. We can always learn. Where's Siobhan Hides? She's always sharing stuff on social media about if she finds a deal online, like this person has this on sale, how to save money. Even cooking different recipes where you can make your recipe stretch and feed your family. There's a lot of value in knowing how to do these things. Unfortunately, a lot of us were never taught it. So we either learn it by accident, or in this day and age, we're going to find a good YouTube channel that can teach you some of these cost effective measures and stuff as well. So yeah, hey, listen, we're all in this boat in one way or the other. And you can't look at someone from the exterior and make determinations about what their fiscal position is. Some people look rich, but they don't have $1 in the bank. They're behind on their mortgages. Somebody just sent me something that said, one of the things that said on it, it's like a whole list of stuff, is that it's easy to save money when you have a high income. Not really, because normally people who have high incomes have a lot of expense. Yeah. So just because you make more money doesn't mean that you're able to save more money, or that you're going to have more disposable income available to you. A lot of those people have figured out how to work off of credit, especially in the big old United States of America. If you have good credit, you can have anything. You can buy anything, right? And that's why these people get in trouble when you see them in reality TV, because then they start to want to level up to pretend they can be part of the housewife franchise. They're supposed to have money and whatever. They want to pretend they get themselves in financial trouble, because then they start lying in loan applications about all sorts of stuff. And yes, you get millions of dollars that you can borrow, but if you lied to get it, the feds are going to come after you and put you behind in jail. Look at that one from Shaw's of, what was her, Jen Shaw or something her name is. I never watched that particular show, but she was Salt Lake City. When they went and raided her place, because she was running a Ponzi scheme, telemarketing, whatever, all of the designer stuff was fake. Even the diamonds were not real. She was looking the part, but couldn't afford it. And so was flossing on fake handbags, fake shoes, fake couture, and name brand stuff. It's like, my God, how bad do you want to impress people that you have to fake it? No, sir. Listen, folks, we got a lot of things that, you know, we need to have some coming to Jesus moments about. I do not. Macy's. Oh, Sandy, let's go to Macy's. I'm like, go to Macy's for what? Because you think I'm going to find a dress for $300, $250, even $150 that I'm going to pay for? Honey, child, you would be hard pressed. You have to be a real special occasion. And I, unfortunately, you know, I'm not finding any of those these days. Weddings, okay. Give me $100 budget, and I'm coming out of there with a dress. Under budget, probably 2 dresses. Priorities, I guess, at the end of the day. Some people smoke and drink their money out. You know, it's not like they don't make good money, but they spend so much money on alcohol and smoking and, you know, eating out all the time. Priorities. Strong Wilt says, I went to Jamaica last month and I went to Payless and bought some working shoes, and they're so comfortable and they look very nice on my feet. Now, listen, I'm not knocking it. Like, you know what I'm saying? If Payless works for you, that's fine. I'm just telling you, from my aunt's perspective, she's like, the material is cheaper. A lot of it's the fake leather. It's not real leather. It sweats and make your feet sweat. You know, but listen, obviously millions of people over the years have bought Payless. So if you're fine with it and you don't have any issues, it is what it is. Faith and Hope says, I shop at the secondhand store. I get some items with tags on it, and I am not impressed in the community. Clean and cheap. Yep. Even in the States, they have, oh God, I forget the name of it now. I saw one the other day, you know, but I haven't seen one of those in years. Oh Lord, it's begins with an H. Oh Lord. And I think it's like a Goodwill. Is it the Goodwill store? Shaka Zulu, I think that's it. The Goodwill store. And I haven't seen one of those in years. And you can go to places like the Goodwill store and find good stuff too. Sometimes people just have to sell their stuff, still ticket and everything, because, you know, they need money to pay a bill. They got to pay their electricity bill in the States too. And so they realize, oh man, I've spent all this money in handbags on I don't even wear, still in the closet, whatever. Abby says, my favorite house shirt is like 12 years old. Listen, the other day I was putting on, and we're off radio now. So the other day I was putting on my, I have some nightgowns that I bought, and you want to know how old those are? I was thinking to myself, Sandy, but they're so comfortable. I'm like, you really need to get rid of these. Like, I've had them in excess of 15 years, probably closer to 20 years for real. And I remember where I bought them from. It was Sawgrass Mall. Don't ask me why I remember this. It was Sawgrass Mall, and it was a JCPenney store, and they were having like a liquidation sale. And they had these little nighties. You got to see them. The tag, you can't read anything on the tag. It's been washed so many times. And I wear them and I can't find anything that's quite, they're like very thin and, you know, they're just comfortable to sleep in. You get hot at night. They help with the heat conduit and whatever. But no, sir, I have worn those to pieces, and I've worn them, and I can't bring myself to throw them away until I can find something that's like close enough to it. I can't find anything. So I just keep wearing them. I'm like, one of these days I'm going to get up out of bed and it's just going to fall apart. 30 years later, it's like, okay, I'm done. But they have lasted forever. Ask Miss Stacy. She's probably thinking, why this one wearing these ratted up, tatted up nighties to sleep in? They're just comfortable. Honestly, I just keep wearing them. Anyway, I will be donating some shoes soon. I promised my mother-in-law she's coming, and she said to me, oh, the last time you gave me some stuff, I gave it to some people, some community in her community in Jamaica, and oh, they were so good, and the quality was good, and they fit this lady and that lady, and do you have any more? And I was like, well, I'm gonna do a clean out, so I am working on the closet. So I took out some tops and stuff the other day. I still have to do pants and whatever. So I'm gonna clean out some stuff, and I'm gonna give her a bunch of shoes, but I suspect I'll have some additional shoes. So if you wear a size 10, hit me up. Marlon said I can't buy any more shoes because I've got too many. So I'm going to get rid of a lot of those, donate, and then, once there's more space available, we may get one or two more shoes. Shaka Zilla says, amen at Lottie. Good footwear has its benefits and overall health gains. And now that I have feet problems, as it turns out, I do have to be careful sometimes with the shoes that I purchase as well. Aliana says, I remember them LA Gears. Is that the name of a backpack? What is LA Gears? I'm not familiar with that one. Yes, thank you, Siobhan. Quite a few people sent me the page. It was March, but I think he didn't actually get started. So I don't know exactly when the donation was given. But again, the point being, was somebody trying to, is he admitting that he was up for sale? I mean, I don't know. Such a good story to what is being discussed this morning. Look at it. Oh, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Sometimes you can't play these YouTube videos because then they be getting you blocked too. So somebody says there's actually a Payless in La Ceiba, Honduras as well. I will buy one type of meat and cook different ways. That's how they save money. Good. Kaboom to that shit, says this person. I don't work with a ton of credit. But like the song says, more money, more problems. Mm-hmm. Yep. Don't think just because people got money doesn't mean they doesn't have financial problems. Honey, chill. That's when the problems begin. Sandy, child, I have one 90 that I bought when my first child was born 16 plus years ago. Most comfy thing ever. And I won't get rid of it. I'm feeling you. And sometimes the old stuff just feels better. It just fits better. I don't know. There's something about old clothes too that sometimes you're like, this is it. Like your old shorts and stuff. You just want to wear them around the house. You can't wear them out sometimes, but you know what I'm saying? I had a pair of, I don't know. I think eventually they got holes in them. They just were like too much. I had to throw them out. But I had a pair of they were gray shorts, kind of like not the spandex, like latex, but they had a little bit of stretch in them. And they were so comfy. I used to wear those out too around the house. But again, not appropriate for on the streets or anything, but still. Person says, yes, I've been to the JCPenney store at Sawgrass Mills. Sandgrass Mills is really nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a Goodwill store. And I haven't seen one of those. I think when I was in Tampa the other day, I saw one. I passed one. I thought, Goodwill, I've not seen one of those in forever. There's slightly different shopping in Tampa than Miami, I must say. Some people are saying to me that they prefer Tampa shopping, maybe because I'm a little bit more used to Miami now. I know where to go and get the deals in Miami. But Tampa was fine too. I find the lack of malls in Tampa. I was like, where are the malls? Isn't there more malls around here? I didn't go to West Shore, but I hear that's like on the outs now. That's kind of gone down. Marlon should throw them in the garage, like how you destroy his shirts, says Strongwild. Oh my gosh. No. Old clothes feel so good on your skin. Yes, girl. Where you're home in Cayman when you had Bata shoe store downtown? Were you home? I don't think so. Where was it located? I was gone from the early 90s until 96. The early 80s, my apologies, until 96. So not really. And, again, because now I have foot problems, when I go to the shoe store, I'm looking at the granny section. So number one shoe shop has this brand called SAS. And they have like proper insole support and so on. But they're expensive. You can walk away with a pair of them for probably less than $140, $150. So, and according to Marlon, they look like granny shoes anyway. He's like, why are you buying another pair of granny shoes? I was like, oh, Jesus. What a mess. Diamond, good morning, princess. Says people live their lives as a competition. Who can have the latest phone, the biggest house, the model car, and handbags? Very, very true. And I think that a lot of us have gone through that phase. It's just that some people don't ever come out of it. And that's the problem, right? They're trying to live for other people. I'm like, listen, when I have to fork up that money for my CUC bill, none of y'all stepping forward and going to be like, oh, Sandy, I can give you a discount or I'm going to pay the bill for you. So why are you trying to impress people? And these are people who legitimately don't care about you. Let's just be very, very honest. I've got a friend who is very, very, he likes to always dress in name brand and be bougie and whatever. And to each his own, but I don't see, it certainly doesn't make him any different of a person in terms of, it doesn't make you a better person, doesn't make you more fiscally responsible. Makes no sense. And I think to myself, why? It really comes down to what you want people to think of you. You got to wear labels because you're trying to impress people. But why are you trying to impress people? To me, that means that you're not comfortable in your own skin. Because there's lots of things that you could wear and you could look good, you could look professional, whatever. And it doesn't have to be full price items. Like I said, you can bargain shop. You can still get name brand at a bargain. But these are like, no, I can't go to that store. I've only they want to go and pay full price for it. And I'm like, so you think your friends know that you're wearing, I don't know what y'all wearing, whatever name brands, and that you actually went and paid full price for it? To me, that doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. Listen, today's September 11th. It would be remiss of me to not mention that 20 years ago, this evening, going into tomorrow, we were hit by the worst hurricane I hope that any of us will ever see in our lifetime. They called it the hurricane of the century. Let's spend some time tomorrow on tomorrow's show dedicating a bit of the show to Hurricane Ivan memories, child. Most of us would just love to forget about it, but it is a stark reminder that sometimes Mother Nature comes and she shows up in a very, very big way. And some of you, it's 20 years now, so some of you don't even know what I'm talking about. Some of you were not born then, or you were babies and you don't remember how devastating Hurricane Ivan was for the people of the Cayman Islands. One day I'm going to be 101 years old, sitting down telling the story of Hurricane Ivan to the little kids who'd be like, wow, I remember, little children, we survived Hurricane Ivan. Yes, I remember. I was with Alistair. Big shout out to Alistair Dilbert. I spent the hurricane with him and his family. I rode it out with them. I remember spending that hurricane. I could hear the wind howling, honey child. It was something else. And then I could hear Al snoring in the next room. And I was like, Lord Jesus, this man's snoring more than the hurricane wind. What can I tell you? It was horrific in so many respects. I remember coming out and seeing, I was trying to walk back home. Listen how stupid I was, right? I was worried about my dogs because I'd left them at my apartment. So I came out, and Al's family, they live down Spots Newlands Road. So I came out to the main road. I was like, yes, I'm going to walk home from Spots Newlands down to Northside Estates. Don't ask me what I was thinking, because clearly I wasn't thinking. Even with good weather and nothing on the street, that's a good little walk now, honey jam. But I was like, I'm going to go check on my dogs. I'm going to walk. Child, I got to the main road. And when I saw the devastation, I could not quite see Mariner's Cove, but I could see that area I was like, I literally cried when I saw it. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm like, surely we've lost hundreds of lives. People have died. I couldn't process what I was looking at. And as it unfolded and we got to more information, I was shocked that we did not have any significant loss of life. The property damage obviously was significant. But you know what? Again, these are material things. After Ivan, I remember going through my closet, which was packed with stuff, jam-packed, and I cleared out so much stuff. And in my brain, I said, you know what? I want to live a more simplistic life. All these material things mean nothing. If you don't have your life and you don't have health, it doesn't matter. All the clothes in the closet, all the shoes, this and that, none of it matters. Had my little Mercedes at the time that survived the storm, but none of it matters. If you don't have life, you don't have health, you don't have good people in your life. Those are just material things. You can't hug up a car at night. You can't hug up those clothes at night. They're not going to keep you company. So I went through this whole decluttering phase where I just wanted to simplify my life. And I decluttered from a lot of people too. Every year, I was like, we're going into a new year. Who's bringing value to my life? Who isn't bringing value to my life? Who's distracting me from my goals? And I unloaded people. People can be heavy, you know? Trust me. They're the heaviest things that you can carry. Deadbeat people or people who bring negativity into your personal space and into your life. Honey, child, let me tell you, just offload those people. Get rid of them. But we survived it. And a lot of us, 20 years later, are here to tell the story of our survival. So we'll spend some time on it tomorrow. Siobhan says, I can't breathe, your voice change. Marshall says you should do story time from Give Me a Story. That's funny. Anyway, we survived it. Miss Elaine says I was 30 and really freaked out. Part of my roof went like a flying saucer. Yeah, I mean, when we got back to our apartment, we had missing roof. We had to replace our roof on those apartments, and water had come in. My poor dogs, they were devastated for life. Like especially Oscar, he was never the same again. So yes, Andrew says, gives praise to God for sustaining us, a lesson that we need him to cover us again this season. We also need to come together and live better than we're doing now. And I must tell you, Andrew, to see how people came together during those times was impressive. Even in our little apartment complex, it's just 4 units, we came together. We figured out that there was a source of water underneath the building that none of us ever knew anything about. And we, tested it. A water company tested it for us. They said, well, you definitely don't want to try to drink this because it's got all kind of fecal matter and whatever in it. But put bleach in it, let it sit for 24 hours, and then you can wash with it. It's better than not having a bath or whatever. I was like, oh, okay. But we would share. We went to, I remember the place there. Oh, they're no longer in business, but what was it called? The one that Hurley's had, Caribbean something, right where C3 is. And you can go there and buy your stuff in bulk. Whenever we went there, we put our resources together. We got generators going. We came together as a little block, as a community, and we'd cook and share food. And, Cayman Imports. Thank you, Damien. This is what we did as a people. It really did bring people together. Unfortunately, as is human nature, it didn't last very long before we started to rebuild and we got back to being very selfish. And then, back to being self-absorbed and selfish and about our own business, so to speak. Miss Elaine says, thank God for his mercy. Siobhan says, facts, Miss Sandy. I be cutting people off left, right, and center. And no warning. Good morning to Miss Sue. Says, we lost everything. House, cars, watched the sea take them as we were managing GTV. What is GTV? The worst part of my life, all of my daughter's dresses from Miss Cayman ruined, everything gone. And guess what? At the end of the day, all those dresses meant what? She lived. We lived through it. And so that really is the most important thing to just, try to remember. Gabby says, I was only 8 years old when Ivan hit. Now I'm 28 and still makes me emotional thinking about it. Yes, I can imagine kids, process it very different as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow, but all I can say is I'm thankful that we're here 20 years later and able to talk about it. Hopefully in 40 years, we'll be here still talking about it at the 40-year mark. All right. Strong Will says, I totally agree with you, Sandy. A bunch of crosses. Get rid of them. Oh, my God. Trust and believe. The fewer people you have around you, the better. You just need a good core. Too many people. Oh, God. Drives me crazy. Sandy, you know all about it. Some people, is like when hot tar stick on your shoe, you clean forever. Oh, my God. Miss Sue saying she gets very emotional about it. Yeah, listen, it was a time for sure. It brings back a lot of interesting emotions. Miss Claudia, good morning. Says those of us who experienced the wrath of Hurricane Ivan will never forget, and I trust that we'll recognize the mercies of God as we reflect. I know for many it's traumatic, as I myself find it difficult to think about. It was a trying time. But, it shows you the resilience, folks, of people, of human beings who have been through trauma. And there are people who endure all sorts of trauma, I dare say, on a daily basis. And, we don't have that. And for that, we should be so incredibly thankful for. Because we live in a relatively safe country still. We have a lot of comforts. Yes, we complain about them. We complain about having to use electricity and heaven forbid pay for it. The fuel factor is killing us. All these things have some degree of truth to them. And of course, no one is saying that, it's easy to survive in this day and age. Thank you, Damien. Like children in the Middle East right now, having to go through this war in Gaza, having to, they're having an outbreak of polio. They're trying to quick time get them vaccinated. I said, imagine polio, a disease that was almost eradicated worldwide. But when you don't have access to proper health care and you're under siege by your neighbors, these things emerge and they quickly spread. And the devastating effects of a disease like polio is no joke. So we have so much to be thankful for. I think that's always a takeaway for me when we endure situations like this, is we have to emerge giving thanks and really have an attitude of gratitude, because for all of the destruction that Ivan caused, when you look around this country, it's easy to forget. 90-something% of our buildings had significant damage. And yet we were able to repair a lot of those. There's one or two in Bodden Town, of all places, that are still Ivan destroyed and never rebuilt 20 years later. But, for the most part, we were able to quickly pull ourselves together and rebuild our lives. And that speaks to the testament of what a relatively good infrastructure, even insurance, we were complaining about them, trying to find a way out of paying and whatever. But most of us found a way to rebuild and to come through it on the other end. Jerry says, trauma allows me to block out bad memories. Well, the trauma is what causes the bad memories. Our bodies are designed to try to protect us, our brains, from trauma. And that is why people who go through traumatic events, even survivors of, child abuse and stuff, they don't remember. Sometimes people block it out completely. Their brain tries to protect them from the incidents by ensuring that they have no memory recall of it. But oftentimes one day something triggers it and you need to address it. So, you can't, I don't know how to say this. I was going to say you can't embrace your trauma. I think you need to deal with your trauma, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Live Happy says the newcomer to Cayman has no idea where we're coming from. The attitude towards Cayman is no different from that of a hurricane. Can we get some respect? Cayman is not all about jobs and money. Today was a sad day in the US and America as well. September has a lot of memories for many islands. And let me acknowledge 9/11 for them does in fact have a significance, obviously, for our American friends. And so we're also thinking about them today. I remember where I was when the news came about that. And again, just total shock. Like I was like, oh my God, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Strong Will says, Miss Sandy, what happened to Miss Charlene? I haven't heard from her in the show in a long time. So unfortunately, Miss Charlene, some months back, actually had a stroke, a very debilitating stroke. And she was on a long road to recovery. So I had spoken to her a few times, but her memory, unfortunately, as can often happen with strokes, wasn't really where it needed to be. She has had some difficulty speaking. So I must admit that I do need to check in with some people who would know a bit more about that. So thank you. And I did say earlier that I was probably about 95% sure that the funds were given after the election. And it looks like I was actually wrong. Hey, 5%. So sources said that they believe, they can't recall for certain, but they do believe that it was before the election. His page was started March the 28th. I don't know when the first podcast or whatever would have been, but his page was started March the 28th. So it looks like it was probably right before the election because the election was April the 14th. So there you go. Happy to admit that I got it wrong. Okay. All right. Somebody says not North Side Estates, but North Sound Estates. Oh, my apologies. Did I said North Side? Oh, what a mess. Bata Shoe Store is where Kirk Freeport is, where they sell their handbags. Oh, you mean down, is that Cardinal Avenue? No, then I definitely don't know who Bata Shoe Shop is, shoe store. They would know nothing about them, honey child. All right, Auntie, I got some news for you, and it's very important. Give me a call. Okay. All right, Cassius, good morning. Says, I remember the road being washed away in breakers. Yeah, I remember driving out there, and I was like, oh, my God. Everything, the beach was on the road. Caskets came in. It was crazy. Having to drive up there to get to my sister's house was a challenge. Navigating areas of the road that was reduced to a few inches of tarmac. Morning to Miss Sophinia. Damien says, don't forget many newcomers also have gone through earthquakes to Sami. No. Why the heck can I, my brain doesn't want to pronounce this word. Tsunamis. Holy crap. Tsunamis, mudslides, and typhoons. Oh my God. Speaking of typhoons, did you guys see that there was a typhoon this week that hit Japan? Whoa. That was, let me see if I can find something. Yo, that was next level. Japanese typhoon. Oh my God. 13 days ago, Typhoon Shanshan made landfall in Japan. Listen, this thing was like ripping stuff apart. Torrential rain, strong winds. Oh my God, Shanshan. What a name for it. Listen, this was a serious typhoon. It was like crazy. I saw somebody had like the glass balconies. The whole glass just went bloop, crazy. So thinking of those poor people too. More extreme weather all over the world, honey child. At least 4 people are dead because of that hurricane, typhoon. Same thing, hurricane. And yes, it left a lot of devastation all over Japan. Power lines down. Craziness. So sad. And we're still in the middle of hurricane season at the height of it now. Yes, Miss Bonnie, unfortunately, poor Miss Charlene. We're at the height of hurricane season, folks, so do not let your guard down. Continue to be vigilant as much as we possibly can. We've been pretty fortunate so far this hurricane season, but it doesn't mean that is going to hold out. So remember, have your plan, be ready, know what you're going to do if we have a storm that's headed your way. Thank you, Miss Cayman Kind Action Committee. Michelle, hers says it was where KFC is now. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I wouldn't remember that. Yeah, I was gone, I guess, during those years when all that was going on in town. I do remember before I left Cayman, there used to be a little guy that was on the waterfront, and he used to do, what's it called? He used to do, sell like little snow cones and stuff, I think it was. Because I remember always asking my dad, oh, can we stop by? He just had like a little card or something. But this is when you come out of Boilers Road to the waterfront. And it was like in that general area, which would be like close to the church, like across the street, like that little. Now they have it taped off. I think it was a parking lot or something, but they have it taped off. But gosh, the landscape of our country has changed so much over the years, huh? All right, folks. Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in. I think I'm back in court tomorrow, although I'm not really sure. I don't think anything much is going to happen tomorrow. So we've got the KC in place, but she leaves the country this week. And then, so I think what's going to happen is they're going to hear the legal arguments for the next sitting of the Court of Appeal. So tomorrow will probably just be instructions like, okay, present your final legal arguments, written form by this date, and then we'll come back with her decision by such and such a date. So in November, probably a day's hearing will be set aside for it. But, listen, these judges have their decisions made before you actually show up in court. It seems like they base their decision off of your written arguments. And so there'll be some oral submissions, but they don't even want you to rehash really what's in your written. It's like if they have questions or whatever. So probably November is what I'm told. We'll have a decision from them. So, all right. So tomorrow, I think we'll be able to have a regular show tomorrow. I just have to get there by 10. And then they'll just set almost like a case management hearing where they'll set the tone for, okay, this is what's going to happen. Big shout out to the Compass, by the way. They covered the story. They got it wrong, but nonetheless, they covered it. So I appreciate that. They actually said, and I think this young man who they have doing, actually I need to message the, I think this young man who they have doing the the court news now because Andrel Harris is no longer there. Andrel, congrats. He's left the Compass and he is now doing he's now working for GIS, Government Communications. So there you go. So congrats to Andrel. So now they have a new guy. I don't know who he is. He looks American, but I'm not sure. Covering the news, and he kind of got it wrong because he says that I was granted leave on this week, and that's not what happened at all. So I was granted leave from like last year, I think, or maybe even the year before. I'll double check with the court. And so I don't think he understood exactly what was happening. Because you wouldn't show up if I was just granted leave, you wouldn't show up having been just granted leave with legal arguments and all this kind of stuff. Like this is way past granting leave, right? And I had to request transcripts, and I had a case management hearing already where they approved like what transcripts and stuff like that I could gain and get access to. Nonetheless, I appreciate them covering it. But I have asked them to correct it because the coverage should be as accurate as possible. And that just isn't what happened. So I'm like, you can't, y'all be trying to kill me about if I get one little thing wrong. So the first line says the Court of Appeal Monday ruled that Sandra Hill, Cameron Model Administrator, had grounds for appeal against a conviction for defamation. That's not what happened at all in court. They actually said that my appeal and my written submissions, my grounds had merit, and they think the judge got it wrong. That's very different than saying that I had grounds for appeal. They had already granted they've already accepted that I had grounds for appeal, which they granted, they gave me the right to appeal. So that's when you say you have grounds for appeal, that's when that term is used. So they kind of missed the mark on that a little bit. They did correct the title after I reached out to them, so I appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for the coverage, honey chill. So we're back tomorrow morning. Like I said, I don't expect anything's going to happen tomorrow morning, except that the court will be informed that what they instructed me to do on Monday has been done. And now we're ready to rock and roll for real. And so that will likely, I'm told, happen in November. So I will let you guys know. Okay, so I got my KC, honey chill. Everything's in place now, so we're gonna do it full on. So November, I'll keep you all updated. Like I said, I don't think much will happen on Tuesday, but I'll keep you guys updated for November. And then, yeah, that's where we're at. What time does radio go off? So let me remind you guys, we went from a 3-hour show to a 2-hour show. We still be going into overtime, but we went to a 2-hour show. And so the radio is 7:30 to 9:30, the 2 hours. And that is it, honey chill. All right, beautiful people. Oh, thank you guys so much for always being here, making this the #1 show. Appreciate it. The reporter's coverage is an example of why one should be discerning your source of news and reliability overall. Yes, I think what it is I don't know, like I said, I'm not sure where he's from, but I think the legal system is different. And so, covering court news can be very, very complicated. Miss Carol Winker, may she rest in peace, did it extremely well for many, 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 many years. And so she did an amazing job. I try to be as detailed as I can be. Somebody else was being critical of another reporter yesterday from another publication about, their story isn't accurate and they haven't gotten it right. When it comes to court coverage in particular, if you notice, I'm normally the person who writes those stories. If Renee writes them, I will try to give her as many pieces of information as possible. And so what I can tell you is I am literally like trying to write ish verbatim. Like seriously. So if you even go, let me see something. Oh, you know what? I think I need to okay, say for example, the people with the what's that case again? The human trafficking. All right, so I did that case. Okay. And I did the last article, I think. No, Renee did it. Oh, but she did it actually. But I send her my notes from court. So she's going to write it, but I'm the one who's actually in court. She gets my typing transcribed notes so that she can be very, very accurate. And I have a way of doing it when I'm in court. Like if the judge says something, I'll put J : and then this is kind of like for my law school days, how I used to do when you have to do notes very, very quickly, you need to have a formula that works. And so I try to get quotes. Like if you go into that story, you'll notice like pull quotes and stuff. So anytime I write, Renee doesn't do quotes like I do. So you can tell stylistically that we actually write differently. Let me think of a story that I've done recently. Okay, the Indian guy, the Indian scammer, which I was going to try to get to him today, but we'll do him tomorrow. Somebody just reminded me about him as well. So if you go to this Indian scammer story, everybody has a different style of writing, of course. You'll notice that, let me see. You'll notice that I try my best to like give specific quotes from the court, what the judge actually said, because you can glean a lot from what the judge is actually saying. So let me just pull this up just for quick display purposes here. Right? So I like to start out with a quote. The importance of maintaining the integrity of the system and controlling immigration, however, meant that even following a guilty plea of a person of good character, a custodial sentence should normally be imposed for its deterrence. So this is one of the things that Chief Magistrate Hernandez said as to why he was going to jail, although he was a person of previously good character, because this type of offense is seen as so important to maintaining good law and order for the integrity of the entire system and controlling immigration. And you see, I do this. I put in specific quotes from the judge, and then you see the level of detail that's in this story. There are other people who wrote the same story, and it's like probably not even a third of the length. They didn't go into all of the details of how the judge came to her conclusion, what she said, what things she took into consideration. They're going to basically say, all right, this Indian guy accused of fraud, blah, 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 blah. He got sentenced to yada, 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 and that's it. That's fine. If that's how people want to write, I mean, I'm not here to tell people how to write, right? Everybody has their own stylistic stuff as writers, as individual writers, even as publications. But I try to even encourage my staff member, because Renee, again, she tends to write a lot shorter than me. I tend to be verbose. I say, put the details in there. People want to know the details. And it also helps because can I tell you that sometimes legal counsel have come back to me and said, Sandy, I know that you covered this case and I'm trying to see how the judge, it was summary court, trying to see how the judge came to this decision. Can you tell me where I can find that article? Because they know that if I wrote it, if I was in court, it's going to have a lot of details in it. And remember, there's no transcription available of a summary court hearing. So this is like a source of reference for them. I remember even when Ms. Carl Winker passed away, one of the judges was, talking about how valuable she was to the courts. And they said a lot of times they would go back to her writings to see what was said, what decisions were made, whatever, because she was so precise and so accurate and detailed with her coverage of court news as well. So, there's different types of news, folks, and court news is, certainly one type of coverage. And so I try to personally be as detailed as possible and hopefully that reflects in the writing. So, what can I say, Shaka? It's still live with me? No, can't be because I've long disconnected. So I'm not sure. All right, folks. So that's all she wrote? Yes, honey child. Thank you guys very, very much again for tuning into the program. I'm going to go do a little bit of decluttering. I got to do room by room. Mother-in-law's coming soon. So I'm going to have I told her, please travel with an empty suitcase. I can just give you stuff. And yeah, be blessed, not stressed. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.